वो किस पे बेस्ड है? वो फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर्स से ज़्यादा 4 लोग का क्या बोलेंगे पे बेस्ड है. अब देखो, मेरा बच्चा इंजीनियर या डॉक्टर बनता या पॉडकास्टर बनता,
कम से कम रुखे में लिखने को तो भी कुछ डिग्री ले ले मियां में.
सलीम, तुम्हारी बच्ची का कुछ नहीं हो सकता, इसकी शादी कर दो, मैं पढ़ सकती ना.
वो अच्छा सोल्यूशन है.
पुराने लोगों को वही सोल्यूशन दिखता था. आई एम लाइक इन टॉप 5 साइकोलॉजिस्ट इन इंडिया नाउ. And happily ever after, that doesn't exist, Baba. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. It's a stereotype belief. Dekho, in our society, separation is still not that easy. You are carrying on your relationship with a scar, with lot of trust issues, with lot of resentment, with lot of hate. Why all things keep coming on? Because you told something then.
आप आपके लड़के के लिए जॉब छोड़े थे. Do you have any regrets?
There's a research which shows a few years down the line, women would prefer not to marry and not to have kids. I don't know how you or the audience would perceive it, but strong women and weak men combination.
Shazia ma'am, welcome to the Table of Wisdom.
Thank you so much, Furqan, for inviting me, and I'm really excited and looking forward for this.
100%. Ma'am, if you were meeting someone for the first time, how would you describe what you do?
Okay. Can you elaborate your question basically?
Okay. So if somebody were to ask me, what do you do? I would say कि I am a podcaster. I try to bring the most value to my listeners through my guest. I ask questions to people who have done something, who are contributing something valuable towards the society. I have a conversation with them. I try to extract as much valuable knowledge as I could from them. That is what I do, basically. Yeah.
Yes, because see, podcaster is a very in thing as of now. So it's easy for you to explain them what you do. But when you ask me that I have to explain people what I do. So I started long back, almost 14, 15 years back. So I'm a counseling psychologist, a family and a marital therapist. So explaining people that I deal with absolutely normal people. I cannot read their minds. I don't know what they are thinking. So it's difficult for me to make people explain कि मैं क्या करती हूँ, what I do. So basically, a counseling psychologist is a person who takes care of normal people who are going through any kind of turbulent times in their life. It could be, loss, grief, separation, divorce, any kind of, ups and downs in life, which every human being goes through. So through counseling, through therapy, we try to navigate their feelings. When I say turbulence, it could be an emotional turbulence, not any kind of physically, they are not shaking, but yes, they are going through something deep down emotionally, which they are not able to identify or understand. So I help people with, first understanding their emotions, channelizing them, processing them, and navigating through it and coming out with flying colors.
Mm-hmm. Ma'am, I would love to understand what inspired you to pursue psychology so deeply.
Okay, Furqan, that's a very interesting question. And from a long time, I wanted someone to ask me this question.
My pleasure.
Because see, I was never passionate about psychology. Something is, sometimes you say that some things are your calling, you're destined. I was basically जो normal जो education रहती ना, तो I was an MBA into HR.
MBA किए आप, Masters in Business Administration with Psychology. What?
Yes, so
क्या combination है?
Exactly, I'll explain you the combination. Okay. तो basically ऐसा सीधा तो मैं यही करी थी कि I was.
That tells me why you are good at marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so actually I was married at a very young age. I was 19. I've completed all my education after my marriage. So even when I was doing my MBA, my eldest son was born. It was his first birthday and my last exam. And then I was too young and too naive to understand what is marriage, what is, parenthood or motherhood, I would say. So from there, my journey started. So after my, MBA done, I started with the job. I worked with Genpact and Microsoft for a very brief period of time into HR, I would say. And then my awakening happened from there, Then like I was working with corporates for 15 hours, and my son, he used to be sleeping when I am leaving, and he used to go to sleep by the time I reach back home. So after a few months, there was, and he used to cry. And those days, na, Indicas were the cabs. So wherever he used to see a cab, he used to start crying, ke na,
Mummy.
हाँ, mom इसमें बैठते अब चले जाते और फिर नहीं आते. So, he was like becoming like very, and I left my son with my own parents. I was the only daughter, so my parents were too excited to take care of my son. But with that 1 year, I would say he was 15 kgs in his first birthday. Excess of love is also like, harmful. His behavioral issues, his, patterns, that started disturbing me. Ke, am I doing the right thing as a mother? I got married, I planned a child, and if I don't have time to give to my own child, then either his career or my career was my choice. So then I chose my family, my son, and that's how then I stopped working. Then I was a full-time mother for some time. Then I had 2 more kids. And almost for 4, 5 years or 7 years, I was sick. I was just at a home mom. I was not working anywhere. Then when you say my journey into psychology started, again, there was a call from a school for my elder son that, he is not able to cope with the subjects, with the marks. So, there is something. Would you like to get referred to a school counselor? So that's how I got to know what is a school counselor. Mm-hmm. Then when I met her, she was like, I think there is something, and it needs to get diagnosed. And, as a layman, as a parent, I was so scared because I did not knew anything about psychology then, about, what goes wrong with children, or, what is it. And then I guess I'm talking about 2009 or 10, there was no much help available in Hyderabad. So finally, he got diagnosed with specific learning difficulties. That is just dyslexia in simple terms, if I would say. Tare Zameen pe agar dekhe honge aap, to it was dyslexia. So now I started running here and there. I went to a psychiatrist, I went to pediatrician, school, everybody. So what answer I was getting, कि आप mainstream school से निकाल लो और कोई special school में डाल लो. And as a mother, not even a boarding school, a school for special children. And as a mother, I was not ready to accept that. मैं पता नहीं मेरा inner self बोल रहा था कि मेरा बेटा, he's absolutely fine. Because in dyslexia, the IQ level is absolutely fine. There is a challenge, there's a difficulty only in reading and writing. No other difficulty. And that too because our system does not accommodate these children. They cannot teach the way a child can learn. जो भी system है बच्चे को उसी में सीखना पड़ता.
Cookie cutter.
Yes, and these children does not fit in there. Because their processing speed is different. They are very creative. They are very imaginative. They get distracted easily. So then again, because as a mother, क्योंकि Sherlock Holmes ban gayi thi main, matlab a mother, a kind of investigation a mother can do. So from there, I started reading about what is specific.
Rabbit hole.
Yes, ke kya ho sakta, what are the ways, he can overcome. So then, alhamdulillah, I would say I met a woman named Afshan. She still run an institute known as Ripples. So I am like, having a lot of gratitude and, respect towards her because she was a lady who explained me what is specific learning difficulties, and that she was the only one at that point of time who told me that my son is absolutely fine and normal. Uske saath koi masla nahi hai.
Sigh of relief.
Yes, so it was a ray of hope for me. So then I was started taking my son to her, and she was like, very few people available. She's like, I don't have slots, Shazia. And then she said to me one day, you have such a good communication skills, okay? And we don't have people in this. And you, as a mother, you can empathize what parents go through. So why don't you do something? And she runs a course known as Knowledge to Knowing into specific learning difficulties. I was in her second batch. So she asked me, you do this course. Then she told me, if you want to do this course and if you want to pursue a career, then you have to do your MA psychology as well. Because otherwise, this course will not have that kind of certification where you can work properly. So I did this course for 3 months. Then I got myself enrolled into MA psychology. And that's how my journey into psychology and mental health started. So I have done all my research, as a mother and as a lay person. So that's the reason I always say that my certifications are only to back me up so that, I am workable. But all my experience comes from on the ground, on the field. And then I lost my father to dementia and Alzheimer. This was one lady who did my hand holding. There was another doctor, a very famous doctor, Dr. M.K. Singh. He still, I guess, consults in Continental Hospital, if I'm not mistaken. One of the senior most neurophysician. And he was a very dear friend of my father as well. So he was the person who explained me, ki, if you really want to, I did my internship under him. So he told me कि if you really want to work into this field, work with normal people, work with common people. Because people with diagnosed conditions, we can give them bare minimum. But the caregivers who come with them, they will have a lot of stories. So I used to take verbatim case histories of the patients who used to come to him. So then I understood what they are going through. There is one person with some kind of like diagnosed mental health condition in the family, and what rest of the family is going through, how much support they need as well. Because in our society, all the sympathy will go with the special case, let it be a child or an adult going having that condition. But people who are surviving around them, nobody, तुम्हारा फर्ज है, तुम्हारी जिम्मेदारी है, तुमको करना पड़ता, तुमको अजर मिलेगा, अरे वो जब मिलेगा अब क्या होगा. So that's how my journey all into psychology started, with the real life experiences with such close relations. So my understanding, my empathy, it is something very natural. And then slowly, then again, I met a mentor. She gave me a statement that if you really want to make a good career into psychology, first imply all the things what you're learning in your own life. That was my, first lesson, I would say. And then I did the same. So all my psychology experiments are done on my own family.
Okay, is it? Okay.
Yes.
A unique family. that you
Yes.
have.
So that's how, my journey into psychology started. And from a long time, I wanted to share this entire journey because there are many people who wanted to know. And people think that, it was my passion. I did psychology out of interest. When I took like CEC, then only my parents were like, okay, इससे शर्मिंदगी की बात और कुछ नहीं हो सकती. अगर जब BA कर लेती तो I don't know कि क्या होता था. And another incident I would share is कि मतलब for the young generation, I was not good in maths and science. So 10th
Same
में,
bench.
okay. So in 10th, my principal called my father. My father, by the way, was a very influential person back then. He used to work in bank, and we had a store in Sangeet Sagar. You guys are too young to understand that or to even know the name of that
Never heard
store.
of.
Yes, it was a second retail store of this music cassettes. He was the largest collector of this Hindi film music.
Yeah, मैं एक रील देख रहा था फहीम साहब
जी,
की,
जी, जी.
वही थी, उसके बारे में थी,
एग्जैक्टली
right.
वही थी. तो in 1997 my father opened a store known as Sangeet Sagar in Bashir Bagh. तो ही वॉज अ वेरी इन्फ्लुएंशियल पर्सन. भाई हर जगह जहाँ भी कोई जाते थे उनको पहचानते. तो इवन ये जो मेरे स्कूल के प्रिंसिपल थे, शी वॉज अगेन अ क्लोज फैमिली फ्रेंड. तो उन्होंने एक दिन बुलाए, मैथ्स एंड साइंस में बहुत कम मार्क्स आए थे मेरे को, आई कांट इवन रिवील द मार्क्स नाउ. उन्होंने बुला के बोले कि सलीम, तुम्हारी बच्ची का कुछ नहीं हो सकता, इसकी शादी कर दो, नहीं पढ़ सकती ना.
वो अच्छा सोल्यूशन है.
पुराने लोगों को वही सोल्यूशन दिखता था. एंड माई फादर वॉज वेरी इम्पल्सिव, काफ़ी एग्रेसिव भी थे. लेकिन दैट डे वहाँ से निकलने के बाद प्रिंसिपल के ऑफिस से, he did not spoke a single word. उन्होंने मेरे को कुछ नहीं बोले. उनके आँखों की तकलीफ और उनका चेहरा ना, मैं आज भी मेरे आँखों के सामने से नहीं जाता. हम लोग कुछ बात नहीं करे घर गए तक. एंड ही वॉज, उसके बाद भी ही नेवर अटर्ड अ वर्ड. उन्होंने कभी नहीं बोले कि पढ़ो, अच्छे मार्क्स लाओ, ये करो, आप जो आसानी से कर सकते कर लो, बल्कि मेरे को बस इतना ही था. आई रियली फेल्ट सो बैड फॉर खान. तो उसके बाद जब व्हेन आई टुक CEC, फ्रॉम देयर आई वॉज माई कॉलेज टॉपर टिल माई MBA. उसके बाद there was no looking back. And then I realized, see, okay, there was an emotional reason attached. Apart from that, when maths and science was not there, I was so good in accountancy that even in my graduation, I got 98 in accountancy. So maybe it's about the subject as well. आज भी मेरे को maths और physics though, I still cannot do. But you cannot judge a child and decide their future based on, being weak in one or two subjects. There are other subjects as well where you can be good enough. And we need people, apart from doctors and engineers, दुनिया कैसा चलेंगी?
Albert Einstein once said, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it doesn't make any sense.
उसकी पूरी जिंदगी निकल जाती बेचारी की, सोचते हुए कि मेरे को कहीं को नहीं आ रहा ऊपर चढ़ना.
Absolutely. I have one critical question here, ma'am, and that is, आप आपके लड़के के लिए जॉब छोड़े थे. Do you have any regrets?
No, alhamdulillah, I don't have any regrets. I still tell all the people, देखो, currently Furqan, mashallah, I would say I'm one of the one of the leading psychologists in entire India now. Like, I have a corporate job. I don't think I can take the name of the company, but I work as a lead wellness in a corporate. And my reels, my private practice, everything is, I'm like in top 5 psychologists in India now. So, as a woman, many a times you come, across this choice, कि either your family or your, career. I always suggest women to choose the family because you can rebuild your career. See, all the people back then, मेरे दोस्त या फिर जो भी लोग मेरे साथ MBA करे थे, आज अगर देखा जाए तो उनकी मेरी जर्नी ऑलमोस्ट सिमिलर है बाबा. ऐसा कोई मैं उनसे बहुत पीछे नहीं हूँ. So it's all about, your efforts. And see, when I was not working, I always kept myself upgrading. I always did N number of courses. Now I'm a triple postgraduate and small जो छोटे courses है, मेरा CV भर जाता वो courses से. Though I'm trying for a PhD, which I'm not able to because of, I don't know, so many other reasons. Lekin I always kept upgrading myself. I was not working. I was never
never stopped learning.
Never stopped learning, basically.
Yeah. Now, about that question, were you able to treat your boy, ma'am, with the dyslexia?
Dyslexia.
Dyslexia, right?
Yes, dyslexia.
Dyslexia.
Yes.
Okay. Tongue twister.
Yes.
Were you able to do that, ma'am?
Yes, I was, Alhamdulillah, Furqan, we were able to do that. And that's how I always tell other people, other parents who come to me, the first thing, acceptance about, your own child's weakness.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of the, brilliant boys in the town as of now, one of the most eligible bachelor in town, जिसको कि मतलब स्कूल लेबल कर दिया था. डॉक्टर्स बोलते थे कि बच्चे को ले आके स्पेशल स्कूल में डाल दो. अगर if you just Google and have a look at his photo, you will be like, ये बच्चे को abnormal बोले थे.
Is it?
Yes. Alhamdulillah has turned out in such a, physically, emotionally, and the kind of maturity level he holds and the kind of creativity he has. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
And it was all because of, as parents, we gave him that safe space. We accepted him. We never bullied him. We never shamed him for, not able to learn, not able to read. Now, all the basics are fine. ऐसा नहीं है कि उन्हें आज भी read नहीं कर सकता. लेकिन that was the time where he needed support. And another incident, Furqan, which is as I told you, there was no much help available. तो जैसा कि dyslexia जब रहता ना, तो इसमें there is one more thing known as sensory integration. So these children are very sensorily sensitive. Like आपके लिए मेरे को भी ना ये बहुत, and I still, अगर आप regret पूछे ना, तो as a mother मेरा यही रहेगा कि I was not aware about the sensory thing. तो जब उन्हें छोटा था, उसको मतलब पानी का जो है सो कि ना, अब मेरे लिए जो पानी नॉर्मल था वो उसके लिए बहुत गर्म रहता था. या there were certain clothes which he was not comfortable.
Sensitive.
Yeah, he was sensitive. लेकिन as parents अपन क्या समझते, बच्चा जिद कर रहा, बच्चा बात नहीं सुन रहा, लेकिन बच्चे को तकलीफ हो रही बोल के अपन नहीं समझते. तो these children are very sensitive on the sensory part. तो उसके बाद फिर जब मैं उसको एक सेंसरी इंटीग्रेशन की भी क्लासेस रहती है, इसकी भी थेरापीज होती है. इट्स नोन एज सेंसरी, बेसिकली डिसलेक्सिया जैसा रहता है, सेंसरी प्रोसेसिंग डिसऑर्डर, SPD बोलते हैं उसको. नॉट SPD इमरजेंसी,
पावर रेंजर्स
नहीं, दिस इज अ प्रॉपर अगेन डिसऑर्डर. तो ये काफ़ी सारे स्पेशल किड्स में भी रहता है, ऑटिस्टिक बच्चों में भी रहता. दे आर इवन ऑटिस्टिक चिल्ड्रन, दे आर लाइट से उन लोगों को प्रॉब्लम होती, साउंड से उन लोगों को प्रॉब्लम होती. तो दीज चिल्ड्रन आर वेरी वल्नरेबल ऑन द सेंसरी साइड. तो विच एज अ पेरेंट आई वॉज नॉट अवेयर. मेरे को जब मालूम हुआ, देन व्हेन आई वॉज डूइंग द कोर्स, व्हेन आई वॉज लर्निंग अबाउट द सेंसरी इंटीग्रेशन पार्ट, एंड आई यूज्ड टू टेक हिम फॉर थेरापीज देयर एज वेल. तो वहाँ पे आई डेवलप्ड अ वेरी गुड रैपो, क्योंकि जब क्या था, ये नया नया था. इवन दीज थेरापीज दे हैव लॉट ऑफ टाइम टू गेट हैव दोज काइंड ऑफ फ्रेंडशिप एंड एक्सप्लेन मी थिंग्स एंड एवरीथिंग. नाउ तो दे डोंट इवन टॉक. तो शी यूज्ड टू अलाउ मी इनसाइड. तो वहाँ से एक दिन जब निकले ना, तो ही आस्क्ड मी कि आप सही बोली माँ, मेरे को आप यहाँ क्यों लाते, ये जो दूसरे बच्चे आते मैं भी ऐसी छूँ क्या. मैं बहुत फैंटासाइज करी थी उसको. मैं बोलती थी कि बाबा अपन जिम को जा रहे हैं, अपन ये है, अपन वो है. तो देन ही आस्क्ड मी दिस क्वेश्चन, एंड एज अ मदर, कहीं तो भी बंजारा हिल्स में एहसाना कॉलोनी में था वो. आई केम बैक टू अत्तापुर साइड या मेहदीपट्टनम की तरफ. एंटायर वे बैक होम आई वॉज अनकंसोलेबली क्राइंग. मेरे को मतलब उसको जवाब देना समझ में नहीं आ रहा था. It was so disheartening for me as a mother. So basically, then I, worked so hard with schools, with other children, so that, I give clarity to other parents. And as I told you, I've experimented on my own self, my own family. तो जो बच्चे को मतलब पूरी दुनिया जवाब देती थी, अगर आज उन्हें if he is really doing well in life, तो अगर पेरेंट्स सपोर्ट करे, अपन उनको जो है, देखो स्कूल की भी तो आप फीस भर रहे ना, ऐसा थोड़ी है कि आपका बच्चे को आप नहीं वो कर, लेकिन इन्वेस्ट दैट अमाउंट वेयर द चाइल्ड रिक्वायर्स. एज अ पेरेंट, इफ यू सी, आई ऑलवेज टेल पीपल, जबकि मेरे प्रेगनेंसीज माइंडफुल नहीं थे, बट स्टिल आई से पेरेंट्स के गो फॉर माइंडफुल प्रेगनेंसीज. इफ़ यू आर नॉट रेडी टू टेक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ योर ओन चाइल्ड, दुनिया में और कोई नहीं लेता, अगर पेरेंट्स नहीं ले रहे तो.
True that. Ma'am, I have come across a really interesting writings about human behavior and stuff. And we would love to hear your take on them, or Shazialogy on them, okay?
Okay.
As your Instagram name suggests.
Okay.
Okay, shall we move ahead with
Sure,
this?
sure.
So the first one goes like, the children who have been through hell turn into the kindest people you will ever meet. They had every reason to grow up cold. Life gave them all the excuses to shut down, push people away, trust no one. They learned early how much pain humans could cause. They felt it when they were too young to understand it, but they chose different. They don't let their childhood trauma run their adult relationships. They don't push new people for old wounds. They refuse to become another link in the chain of hurts. It's so much easier to close off after you have been broken young, to decide everyone's dangerous, to protect yourself by never letting anyone close. But these people stay open. They still believe in connection. They still show up with gentleness, even though gentleness got them hurt before. That's real strength. Growing up damaged without growing up damaging. Getting hurt as a child without becoming hurtful as an adult.
Yes, Furqan, it's something, very interesting, which you have asked me. But Baba, ironically, these are very few cases. Like very few people grow up into this when their childhood was, not good, or they were not treated well empathetically, or they were not loved well, and still they learn. Suppose I'll ask you a question. You were not sent to school at the age of 3.5 years, and in later part of your life, after your 20s, I come and ask you something in English, or I'll ask you to write a letter. Will you be able to?
And that's impossible.
Exactly. In the same way, when these things are not taught at a young age, and there might be few children who sit under the street lamps,
lights.
idhar se udhar se books leke pad liye, to they do. But what is the ratio of those
The
children?
majority won't be able to.
Yes. So this is also very similar. Whatever you have described, if this was not given to them at the right time, at the right age, and in the right appropriate manner, they can never grow into a kind of not damaging adults. It doesn't happen, Baba, that way. Whatever your childhood experiences are, that is going to shape your character. That is going to shape you as a person.
It makes sense. Totally makes sense. This is good. Next one. How can you love yourself when you don't even know which version of you is real? Everyone says only you can truly understand yourself. But how can you understand something that changes depending on who's watching? You have one version for family, another one for friends, another for work, another for strangers. When you are alone, you are not sure who that person is. You have created so many versions that you have lost track of the real you. When someone asks who you are, you describe these performances, but that's not you. That's just you adapting. The truth is, you only know yourself through the roles you play. You define yourself by how others see you, not by who you actually are. Because without an audience, you don't know who to be. How can you understand yourself when yourself is just whatever version you are performing? The real you might not exist outside of these performances.
Yes, Furqan, a one-word answer to your this paragraph is, these people are known as narcissists. And this is something, a biggest fear of my life. I would say I've avoided this topic for so long in my live sessions, in my wherever people have asked me. But as of now, I get so many cases of narcissism. And when we say almost in the Asian population, like the numbers are like very bad when we say this narcissist population.
What exactly is narcissism, ma'am?
Whatever you have just described now, everything is narcissism, because they always perform. So if you have seen, even I have started a small series on narcissism. So basically, it starts from 18 months of age. See, narcissists are not born. It is not something God-given. It is something given by the humans. So it starts at the age of 18 months, and even before that sometimes, because as I told you in the beginning, unmindful parenting. And when I say unmindful parenting, it's not that after having children, bacha kahin bhi ja raha, usko nahi dekh rahe. It's not unmindful parenting. See, both the parents, umar ho gayi, waqt ho gaya, munasib rishta aa gaya, shaadi ho gayi. Ab shaadi ho gayi, isliye now you have to have kids as per the society. And both the parents are maybe physically, emotionally, financially not ready to have the child. And in the very beginning, they don't feel from the time they have conceived, it was not their choice. It was something forced upon you. A parenthood was forced on you because of so many reasons. घर के बड़े बोल रहे हैं सोसाइटी में कैसा होएगा, आप शादी होगी, साल हो गया, 2 साल हो गया, अगर नहीं हुए तो कैसा. And then it happens. And you don't feel connected to your own child from the day of conception. And life goes on. Everything goes normally. And in our society, what is the healthy lifestyle? सबसे healthy चीज़ आप किसी को क्या दे सकते हैं? आप उनको सुला दो, उनको खाना खिला दो, green vegetables खिला दो, बस. What you're feeding to your mind, nobody considers. And you cannot get a 360 degrees holistic lifestyle or a healthy life with only 2 components, with sleep and healthy food. You have other things also attached to it. So when these children are born, the parents don't have that connect with the child. And from the time of conception till 18 months, the child is trying to figure out. And from 18 months, this performance starts, what you have asked me. Because they never felt that emotional connection from their primary caregivers. That is really important कि प्राइमरी केयर गिवर से वो कनेक्शन फील होना बच्चे को. इमोशंस, जैसा मैं आपको भी एग्जांपल दी ना, अगर स्कूल नहीं भी जाए, आप अगर रीडिंग राइटिंग और लैंग्वेज को एक्सप्लोज नहीं कर रही, जैसा कि अगर आप जो स्कूल गए, आप इंग्लिश मीडियम गए तो आपकी रीडिंग राइटिंग इंग्लिश में रहती. आप अगर तेलुगु मीडियम गए, उर्दू मीडियम गए, अरबिक मीडियम गए, आप जो एनवायरनमेंट को आप बच्चे को एक्सपोज करते, अल्टीमेटली बच्चा वही सीखता. And why I take the school example is that is the most common, most resonating example I can give to the parents. So when this emotional unavailability starts at such a young age, मतलब बच्चा ढूंढ रहा, उसको कुछ नहीं मिल रहा emotionally. He never felt safe. He always had to perform to earn love. कभी भी उसको conditional love मिला, उसको कभी मालूम ही नहीं भाई कि किसको बोलते मोहब्बत. They have never seen love which is unconditional. And again, another example what I give my Hyderabadi people is कि अगर अपन बिरयानी नहीं खाए, अपने को बनाना ही नहीं आए, तो can we promote it? Can we tell people कि अरे खा के देखो बहुत अच्छी है? That's impossible, right? So the paragraph you described about is about those people who have experienced this emotional unavailability, the disconnect from their own primary caregivers, and they have grown up performing. And it is their coping mechanism, it is their survival, because what happens in this young age, if the child is not behaving according to the primary caregiver's whims and wishes, okay, they might be going through a lot, they are happy, unhappy in their marriage, for the father, pata nahi job achhi hai, nahi hai, mother, so many other responsibilities, where they don't feel interested in their own child. Yeah. So these people, they have to always look at the mood, ke kaisa hai. And if they want, they have to manipulate their own parents. They will not get anything without manipulation. They always have to lie to keep that, safety. So while growing up, this becomes their second nature. And in the later part of life, they become very, very damaging to themselves and other people because they don't even know how to love themselves. So if you cannot love yourself enough, you cannot love others enough. For you, it is always a performance.
To be loved, I must perform. Ma'am, there is a passage about a child. The scenario is slightly different, and that is the child raised in a home where feelings were too much. Some children are not hit, they are not screamed at, they are fed, clothed, educated. On paper, everything looks perfect, but emotionally, something is missing. But every time they cried, they were told, stop overreacting. Every time they were scared, they were told, there is nothing to fear. Every time they were hurt, they were told, be strong. Their feelings were not met. They were managed. So they learned to swallow emotions fast before anyone could call them dramatic. They became the mature child, the easy child, the child who never caused trouble. But what looks like maturity is often a survival skill. It is the art of disappearing emotionally while still being physically present. The child grows up and struggles to name what they feel. They can explain everyone else's emotions, but not their own. They fall in love with people who feel familiar, people who dismiss, avoid, or minimize, because deep down, they confuse emotional distance with normal. They do not fear love, they fear being seen.
I really appreciate the kind of research you have done in the child behavior and the early childhood thing, Furqan. That's really amazing, Baba.
Truly appreciate that, ma'am.
Yes. So basically, see, this is the another side of what I have explained you about narcissism. There are two sides of narcissism. They feel entitled for anything. So there are the first scenario could be like, as I told you, emotional disconnection or maybe silent treatment, not being there. Other thing is being there overly, like too much of pampering. The Raja Beta or Rani Beti syndrome, where you think that you are privileged, you deserve everything in the world. You don't need to you don't need to cry, you don't need to ask for anything, and everything is given to you. You're even in this scenario, as you rightly said, everything is given to that person, but the emotional needs were not met. The person was not allowed to feel the emotion. So again, these people will also, have that sense of entitlement. Okay? I'm something special. I should get everything without any ask, without any consequences, without any responsibility. I don't need to earn this. Everything is by default. There are two extreme scenarios. One scenario where you get everything by default, and I'm supposed to get it by default, by hook or by crook. If I don't get it, I'll mess up the other people's life. The second people, they are so underprivileged, they don't get anything, so they learn to snatch. They want that entitlement. By hook or crook. By default. If you're not giving me, I will take it myself.
Two extremes.
These are two extremes where these kind of, people we see. That's the reason moderation is the key in parenting. If you cannot be a moderate parent, and if you don't know how to regulate your own emotions, whatever the child is witnessing in the early ages, the child is going to, grasp that. I'm basically a very huge fan of Freud, because every Freud segment, he's one of the oldest psychologists, I would say. So when we come with the psychology theories and everything, everybody lays an emphasis on, early childhood exposures. Everybody. But certain people, they say neuroplasticity, people will learn, people will grow, people will acquire skill as they grow. Yes, that definitely happens. But somehow, the psychodynamic theory, मैं थोड़ा यहाँ पे गलत हो सकती हूँ क्योंकि शायद मैं बहुत सामान psychodynamic है, psychoanalytic है. I just need to, check the word. I'm a little confused. So basically, as per that theory of Sigmund Freud, the early childhood experience shapes your character and personality. And somehow, now I also strongly believe in that. कि उसके बाद आपको बहुत बेहतरीन exposure मिल जाता, बहुत से चीज़ें समझ जाते, बहुत से चीज़ें हो जाते. लेकिन ये जो एक आपका ये जो other side है, जो कि which is hidden, because we think that the person has overcome because of their overt behavior, जो आपको दिख रहा. Lekin deep down, you don't know what that person is going through, how well they are masking up, how well they are performing. Nobody knows. Because of their performance, in both the cases, you can never detect what is underlying.
Right. What real that person, उनका true self क्या है आखिर.
Exactly.
They are performing in both the end. एक और एक है, the child who grew up in chaos and became a radar. There are children who grew up in homes where the mood could change in seconds. A normal evening could become tension. A small mistake could become a storm. In such homes, children don't grow up slowly. They grow up alert. They learn to study footsteps, door sounds, voice tones, silence. They become experts in predicting danger before it arrives. They become a radar. Sometimes the child becomes the peacemaker. Sometimes the child becomes the parent. They learn to keep everyone calm, to fix problems they were never theirs to carry. They learn to earn safety by managing the adults. They learn that love is not soft. Love is something you maintain like a fragile glass object. The child grows up into an adult who cannot relax even in good relationships. Their body keeps scanning for what will go wrong. They may look calm, but inside, they are bracing. They may say they are fine, but their nervous system does not believe it. And when they finally meet healthy love, it feels strange, boring, unsafe in different ways, because in chaos was their first language and peace feels like a foreign country.
And see, all your three questions are very interrelated, Baba.
Yeah.
So first, understand, it's a different kind of scenarios in every house. So what child now you have described is known as a parentified child.
Parentified child.
Yes,
Okay.
because at a very young age, the child has to behave as, they have to manage the adults. They have to play the role of the parent than the child. because parents did not knew how to regulate the emotions or what is right or what is wrong. So when the children they start going to school, mingle with other social circle, they learn, they come back and they compare. Okay, it is not happening, what is happening outside is not happening in my home. So they start like teaching their own parents, okay, you do like this, you sit like this, you wear this. Or sometimes if a parent cannot read, they will try teaching them how to read. So all these things, so that child ultimately turns into a parentified child. They lose their childhood somewhere. And see, if something is coming in between the natural process, how can we expect the result? See, everything has a process. A child is born, the first symptom is cry, then, opening the eyes. Everything has a stages. And if you are trying to interrupt with any of the life cycles, any of the life stages, and expect good results in the end, can we get that?
What do you mean by interruption, ma'am?
Interruption is when there is something happening naturally. It's a natural process. Let it be the birth or anything. But when you try to interfere in it, like I'll give you the example of this butterfly. The caterpillar. When the caterpillar is transforming from a caterpillar to a butterfly, it's a very painful process. Very painful. Agar kabhi by chance, if it comes into human eye, as empathetic humans, we try to meddle with that process. And what is the result? Sometimes one of the feather is not developed. There is some deformity in that butterfly. It will never become a fully grown beautiful butterfly who is able to fly. So even this process, sometimes it is painful, but you have to allow that process to happen. Don't try to meddle with it. Don't try to play with it. Don't try to make it easy. Let the process happen, and then you see that beautiful butterfly coming out.
This took me back to the conversation I was having with Haji sir the other day. He made such a beautiful point, ma'am, and वो बता रहे थे कि आप खाना जो खाते हैं ज़मीन में, आप जो कुदरती जो उगता है खाना, अनाज जो उगता है, वो जो खट ज़मीन होती है उसमें से जो उगता है खाना वो खा के देखिए, और जो नरम जो इंसान करके वो खाने में प्रोटीन्स और जो मतलब जितने न्यूट्रिशन मिलना रहता है बहुत डिफरेंट रहता है. जो अनाज खुद ही ज़मीन को फाड़ के निकलता है नेचुरली, उसकी ताकत अलग ही रहती है, और वो अनाज की जो आप नरम ज़मीन से निकलती है उसकी ताकत अलग ही रहती है. दिस इज़ व्हाट यू आर सेइंग, मैम.
Exactly, Baba. See, everything has a process to it.
Yeah.
Anything you're trying to hamper, you will not get the result what you should get.
Yeah.
See, live grown diamonds le lo, test tube babies le lo. Like you have n number of examples.
Yeah. Your 20s are so hard because it's the first time in your life when no one is telling you what to do. For 20 years, everything was planned. School schedule, expectations, all laid out for you. You and your friends move through life at the exact same pace, same grades, same milestones, same timeline. Then suddenly you're 20 and there's no playbook anymore. Your friends get married while you are still single. Someone's making 6 figures while you are in grade school. Someone's traveling the world while you are living with your parents. Everyone's suddenly on different paths, and you have no idea if yours is right. There's no teacher to tell you what comes next, no grade to measure if you're doing well, no clear next step that everyone's takes together. You spent 20 years following someone else's plan. Now you have to make your own. And nobody prepared you for how terrifying that freedom would be.
Yes. And Baba, ironically, again, I would say it is a responsibility of the primary caregivers, the parents, and the responsible adult in the society. Ke, rather than making your children follow something rigid till 20 years, and suddenly they are exposed to the like they are living in an unreal world, and all of a sudden they face the real world, and it is so different from what they have been hearing. From a very young age, people say ke, पढ़ लो ऐसा हो जाता, नेक्स्ट क्लास में गए तो ऐसा हो जाता, देन डू योर 10th, योर लाइफ विल बी दिस.
हर क्लास में यही सुना मैं.
हर क्लास में यही सुनते, और फाइनली जब एजुकेशन कंप्लीट होती है उसके बाद जॉब भी मिलना मुश्किल हो जाता. देन द रियलिटी हिट्स देम हार्ड कि व्हाट हैपेंड विद अस. सो द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इज ऑन द एडल्ट्स एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम कि अपने बच्चों को लाइफ स्किल्स सिखाओ, सो दैट व्हेन दे एंटर इनटू द प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ दे शुड नॉट फील लाइक एन एलियन. It should not be a schedule according to, certain things which are not real. Sleeping at 8, getting up in the morning, studying, going to school. And what happens in this, child doesn't learn the life skills and the social skills. See, as I told you, I work for a corporate. So jitne bhi ye mere newcomers rehte na, recently it's been mass hiring happening, and a group of girls, boys with the tears in their eyes, aake me ko, ma'am, do you know, I come from technical background, ma'am, I am coming from pharma background, ma'am, I have done my MBA, and what job I am doing.
Completely different from what they have learned, right?
Yes, completely different. But I just asked them one question. Then why did you choose this job? Are the jobs available in your own field, whatever field you have chosen? Jobs hai. I also tell people, if I also go by my MBA, I will also be out of job. So if there are these fields have become saturated, and when new fields are coming up, like, let it be interiors, robotics, or, some other content creation, podcaster, all these things are new. So why can't we allow our children to be there as well? Because we were in an unreal world few decades back, and we will raise our children कि हमारे time पे ऐसा करे थे. But that time is no more relevant. What was there then is there now. And don't you upgrade yourself? Do you still use that black phone? You also have a touch phone? I always tell, it's not out of disrespect, but for the young generation, कोई भी बड़े जने आए और बोले हमारे ज़माने में, बोलते उनका फ़ोन खींच लो. Just snatch the phone, run away. सब ज़माना याद आ जाता कि कौन से ज़माने में है. So time which does not exist, if you are growing your children with that kind of a mindset, and when they reach, and another good example I can give you on this is this, I was seeing some YouTube channel pe, they were explaining ke why Indian middle class parents they suffer a lot. So they start saving for the बच्चा पैदा होते है उसको इंजीनियर बनाना, डॉक्टर बनाना, उसकी that point of time पे क्या डोनेशन है. Suppose for an example, जो भी साल बच्चा the child is born, 50 lakhs is the donation for MBBS or engineering. Okay, it's just a scenario. By the बच्चा स्कूल जाना शुरू करा, पेरेंट्स सेव करना शुरू करे. By the time बच्चा इंटर में आया, 10th खत्म करा, वो 50 लाख जाके 2 करोड़ हो गए. आपके पास कितने हैं?
50 लाख.
और आप बच्चे को जिंदगी भर ये होप देते हुए, उम्मीद देते हुए कि तुमको एडमिशन दिलाएंगे, तुम इंजीनियर बनेंगे, तुम डॉक्टर बनेंगे, उसके बाद ऐसा होगा, उसके बाद वैसा होगा. Ultimately क्या होगा? Let the child, every child is unique, every child is different, they have their own strengths, they have their own weaknesses. Don't put your emotional baggages, don't try to live your life through them. Let them be normal, let them choose for themselves. We should give them the choice to live. As देखो, what do we want as a parent? और ये सब regulations हर parent, I am not telling that parents are bad. लेकिन I have only one question कि why do we all send our children to school? Why do we pay the fees and everything? Because we want a good future for our children. So we have to be more focused on their betterment, or the subjects or the school or the institute. When people who out of drop out जो है स्कूल के कॉलेज की, अगर उन लोग अपनी कंपनीज बना ले सक रहे हैं, तो अपन क्यों? क्योंकि हर बच्चे का फोटे सिर्फ और सिर्फ पढ़ाई नहीं रहता. Somebody can become a footballer, somebody can become a tennis player, somebody can become an artist, performing art हो गया, drawing हो गया. अपन कब तक जो है सो कि dignity of labor नहीं आएंगे अपनी सोसाइटी में? अपन कब तक ये प्रोफेशंस को we are going to look down upon?
But I have one very critical question for you, ma'am. पेरेंट्स हेजिटेंट इसीलिए हैं क्योंकि वो अपने, जाकिर खान एक कॉमेडियन है, उन्होंने बता रहे थे कि कोई भी माँ बाप अपने बच्चों को गरीब देखना नहीं चाहते, तकलीफ में देखना नहीं चाहते. तो थिंक अबाउट दैट इज दोज आर द पाथ्स लेस ट्रैवल्ड. वहाँ पे ज़्यादा सबूत नहीं है, एविडेंस नहीं है, क्योंकि बहुत कम लोग अनऑर्थोडॉक्स वे में गए. पेरेंट्स सेफ्टी चाहते हैं, इसीलिए प्रूवन पाथ पे अपने बच्चे को भेजना चाहते हैं. व्हाट आर योर व्यूज फॉर दोज पेरेंट्स, मैम? व्हाट डू यू हैव टू से अबाउट दैट?
आई कम्प्लीटली एग्री फुरखान, आई कम्प्लीटली एग्री. ठीक है, अब आप यहाँ से एक रास्ते पे जा रहे हैं, ठीक है, एवरीबडी 2 रास्ते हैं, आप एक चूज कर ली, हर कोई उसी पे जा रहा. एक हद के बाद वो रास्ता ब्लॉक हो गया, सैचुरेशन आ गया, अब आप आगे नहीं हट सक रहे. तो फिर भी अगर आप डाइवर्जन नहीं लेना चाहेंगे तो आप आगे कैसा जाएंगे?
That's a brilliant answer to that question, ma'am.
You have to make other ways. You have to take other directions in life to reach your destination. Again, the destination is the same. हो सकता थोड़ा घूम फिर के जा रहे होंगे, किसी को shortcut मिल जा रहा होगा. Because we have not explored that side, how can we say देखो अपन जो चीज़ नहीं देखे उस पर कैसा कमेंट करते हैं कि वो चीज़ वहाँ नहीं ले जाती. हाउ कैन वी बी सो श्योर इफ वी आर सो श्योर अबाउट सर्टन पार्ट्स? हाउ कैन वी बी सो अनश्योर अबाउट सर्टन पार्ट्स कि दिस इज गोइंग टू लैंड यू इन ट्रबल?
The fear of uncertainty. In order to make a decision lena is something which is really time consuming when compared to taking action. आप decision ले लिए एक, just take the action. आपको खुद ब खुद ही पता चल जाएगा विद सर्टेनिटी कि वो जो रास्ता लिया था मैं वो सही है या नहीं.
एग्जैक्टली बाबा, पता चल जाता. और उसके अलावा ना तो ये जो डिसीजन मेकिंग कैपेसिटी ऑफ पेरेंट्स है वो भी तो बहुत लिमिटेड है ना. वो किस पे बेस्ड है? वो फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर्स से ज़्यादा चार लोग क्या बोलेंगे पे बेस्ड है. अब देखो मेरा बच्चा इंजीनियर या डॉक्टर बनता या पॉडकास्टर बनता,
चार लोगों के बीच में क्या बोलूंगा मैं?
चार लोगों को क्या जवाब देंगे? शादी कैसा होगी, रिश्ता कैसा मिलेगा, बच्ची वालों को क्या बोलेंगे?
कम से कम रुखे में लिखने को तो भी कुछ डिग्री ले ले मियां.
रुखे पे क्या लिखेंगे?
Amazing point, ma'am. That's a good point. Yeah, absolutely. This is something. मतलब मेरे को अभी realization हुआ. Yes, if the road is saturated, if the road is entirely blocked, वहाँ पे आपको दिख रहा है कि ट्रैफिक वापस आ रही है वहाँ से, क्योंकि उनको पता चल गया, वो लोग डेड एंड देख के आगे कि वहाँ पे रास्ता नहीं है आगे. वहाँ से लोग जब वापस आना शुरू, फिर भी क्यों नहीं समझ रहे?
जाके देख के पलट के आना है. हमको अपने आंखों से विटनेस करना है कि रास्ता बंद है, सैचुरेशन है, अब जॉब नहीं मिल रही. सो आई सी सो मेनी यंग चिल्ड्रन, आई जस्ट टेल देम के हैव ग्रैटिट्यूड of being financially independent. अगर देखो एक from 2000 I guess this MNCs started coming into Hyderabad. Before that, all the people of 90s who have completed their graduation, what jobs did they have in hand? Nothing. After graduation they were getting nothing. Now आप ये customer service में बोल लो या फिर whatever analyst, whatever job reviewers, ये बच्चे जो कर रहे हैं, they are just graduation, they have completed basic graduation and they are becoming financially independent. They are getting global exposures, मतलब diverse backgrounds. So एक इतनी बड़ी growth की opportunity है and they come there with such a disheartened thing. मतलब I don't know, but I always tell people कि ना at least sometimes step out and go and see this IT corridor, go to Gachibowli, go to financial districts, look at these kind of buildings. You will realize the world has changed. Even you have to evolve. You have to come out. See, having job in hand is more important, or having a good job is more important?
Having a job, bare minimum. कुछ तो है ना.
Even for the night shift people, I'm not saying that it is healthy. ठीक है, night shift में काम करना healthy नहीं है. I completely agree to that. But just imagine after becoming an adult, you have no job in hand. उसके बाद रात में नींद आती. तो फिर then why do you curse the job which is giving you the financial independence, which is earning your bread and butter, whatever amount it is? वो छोड़ के देखो, वैसे भी नींद नहीं आती. तो अब नींद नहीं आ रही तो काम कर ले. तो उसको see, don't look down upon these things. What I say is, I'm not telling, I'm nobody to judge whether it is healthy or unhealthy. So if we go on this topic of healthy unhealthy, बोलते देखो humans are always about convenience, always about evolvement. अगर आई से कि अपन क्या कैन वी गो बैक टू स्टोन एज, विल यू एग्री कि नहीं भाई गाड़ियाँ नको, अच्छी बात नहीं है, पैदल चलना हेल्दी है? विल यू गो बैक टू द वॉकिंग एरा?
नो नाउ इट्स अभी तो कंफर्टेबल हो गए इस पे.
एग्जैक्टली. प्रेशर कुकर सही नहीं है, माइक्रोवेव में फ़हीम को वही बोली देखो हम लोग की शादी 2001 में हुई थी. जब उसके थोड़े महीनों के बाद हम लोग माइक्रोवेव लिए थे. ये देखो अपना 25 साल जी लिए. अब बस अगर माइक्रोवेव अनहेल्दी भी है तो भी नहीं, अब मर गए भी तो चलता, इट्स ओके, इट्स फाइन, अपना वक्त आ गया समझ लो. लेकिन इट इज़ नॉट the microwave is not the culprit who is killing us. Right. It's just a technology. It's just an evolvement. And as we have, chosen, why have to be selective over certain things? ये हम लेते, हम फ़ोन लेते, हम ये लेते, ये हेल्दी है, वो अनहेल्दी है. सब में उतने ही जैसे कि एडवांटेजेस है, डिसएडवांटेजेस है.
I was having this conversation with my mother this morning while we were having a breakfast. और मैं सोच रहा था कि वो पुराने बुड्ढे जिसको बोलते वो लोग
पुराने बुड्ढे
पुराने बुड्ढों को वो एक रहता था कि हमाकू हाथ से पीसे हुए ही मसाले बहुत पसंद आते, टेस्टी रहते. वो बेचारी वो आंटी जो है आर्थराइटिस के दर्द में चल बसे उन्होंने, इनको मगर हाथ के पीसे हुए ग्राइंडर आ गया. कभी ग्राइंडर ईजाद नहीं करे, कभी वॉशिंग मशीन ईजाद नहीं करे, कुछ ईजाद नहीं करे, लेकिन कोई चीज़ कोई हेल्प करने के लिए आ रही तो उसको रोकेंगे ज़रूर. ये क्यों होगा अपने पास? ये
वही पुराना, मतलब देखो इट्स फ्री लेबर. मैं रीसेंट रील, खैर अच्छे कमेंट ज़्यादा आए, मेरी रीसेंट रील इसी पे थी.
दिस इज गुड, वी हैव so much to unpack here.
Yeah, your expressions are showing me that.
Yeah. चलिए, क्योंकि आपके बहुत सारे रील्स मैं इससे रिलेटेड देखा हूँ, तो या one of the hardest parts about being in a relationship is accepting that you and your partner are going to hurt each other. Most people don't want to hear this. They think real love means never causing pain. But that's fantasy. Real relationships, at least, require constant forgiveness. Your partner will disappoint you. They will say wrong things at the wrong time. They will let you down when you need them. Not because they are bad people, but because they are human. And you will hurt them too. You will be selfish sometimes. You will miss their needs. You will fail them in ways you never intended. The question isn't whether this will happen, it will. The question is whether you are willing to work through it when it does. Whether you can forgive and be forgiven. Whether the relationship is worth the inevitable pain. Perfect partners doesn't exist, but partners worth keeping do. They are the ones who stay and work through the hurt together.
This is, such a close to my heart question. Like, see, marriage is a sacred institution. Why does it losing its value is because people expect perfectionism when we are getting married to humans, not angels. Okay, that's the first thing. And when you say khubul hai, yeah, I do, when you're accepting, it is all about acceptance. A person is going to be a package of, both good and bad. And if, there is nothing known as, only partners in good time. It has to be, all the way. Sometime, as you rightly said, they're going to be, and, when we are saying about, especially if you talk about relationship and marriage, it's going to be, you don't know how many years you're spending together. It could be, a decade, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in such a long relationship, you expect that always it is going to be happy, always it is going to be exciting, always, the other person is going to, keep up to your expectation, make you happy. But don't you think this is very impractical and irrational?
That's a fantasy.
Yeah, that's a fantasy. And, happily ever after, that doesn't exist, Baba. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. It's a stereotype belief. And of course, maybe, a little bit of visualization of marriage, of love is through Bollywood movies. How it creates a fantasy. But we need to understand the difference between the real life and the real life. Two people staying so long together, how is it practically possible that, every day is going to be happening? Every day you're going to enjoy it. Every day, suppose I try to take examples with, which are resonating. Okay? I was coming to this place from my house. Okay. So there are going to be, signals. There are going to be traffic jams. There are going to be, speed breakers, some small lanes. Somebody might come in between. So there is the journey easy. Even if you're just traveling for half an hour to 45 minutes, you face so many things. And how do you think marriage is a new beginning? It's a journey of two people. And how that journey can always be smooth. Sometimes there are going to be tough times, challenging times, stagnation, not feeling interested. So if you really now want to do something, don't try to save your spouse or don't try to save your marriage. Just hold on to yourself and your integrity in bad times. This too shall pass. जैसा कि अच्छा वक्त नहीं रहा, बुरा भी नहीं रहता. That has passed, this will also pass. But if you're not involving any third person or the, other people from outside, the scope of, reviving your relationship is much easier.
Is it? Uh-huh.
But whenever there are tough or challenging times, people either end up in extramarital affairs or they go out and propagate about, their spouse, or they talk so much about their personal details in front of, people around them, that once things are recovering, it becomes very difficult.
You have a deep scar there.
Yes. Sometimes the soul is scarred. So you don't have to save the spouse. You don't have to save the marriage. You have to just hold on to yourself and tell, okay, this will also pass. Let me be little patient. Let me just be calm. Let me, don't even be calm. Don't even be patient, or just be. Don't take any wrong step, at least at that point of time. And when this phase is passing, it is easier for both the people to get back. But the scenario, the other scenario which I have explained you, still, in our society, separation is still not that easy. You are carrying on your relationship with a scar, with lot of trust issues, with lot of resentment, with lot of hate. Why old things keep coming on? Because you told something then. You did something then. You went out with someone because I was not there. So you don't have to do anything for others. Just focus on yourself. That will be more than enough.
Ma'am, what is the most common reason for divorce?
Most common reason for divorce, I would say, as of now, Furqan, is, the equation. I don't know how you or the audience would perceive it, but strong women and weak men combination. See, a woman is, in any religion, is gentle, fragile, a peace,
Feminine.
feminine, to be taken care of, to be cherished of, for peace, for tranquility. But as you said, when you put so much of burden on a woman, let it be, the household chores, let it be, now these days the concept of, 50-50, that you have to provide, like, you're working, you are like there, you have to support in the financial aspect where the man is weak, but again, you have to come back to cook a meal. And still the man will come back to a cooked meal. So when this kind of, disparity happens, I've made a reel on this also. Like there's a research which shows a few years down the line, women would prefer not to marry and not to have kids. They'll stay single. Because when they can earn, when they can live independently, when they can do everything by themselves, why would they need a man in their life?
That completely makes sense, ma'am. That does make sense. So the combination of weak man and strong woman is the most common reason for divorce.
Yes.
How will you define a weak man?
If you go by definition, a man is a provider, a protector, and a sustainer. So when all these three things are compromised, women is also providing, women is also protecting, women is also sustaining, everything is 50-50. And as I told you, when it comes to women's responsibility, still 9 months of pregnancy, still the woman has to, I've seen ladies even in the last trimester working because they can't afford to take maternity leave. So don't you think this kind of inconsideration towards one gender for a long period of time will make her feel one day, why do I need this, this man or this people?
Yeah. तो एक dead weight है, एक liability है.
Exactly. And whatever, still people question me कि आप घर में क्या करते, आप पकाते. Fahim makes fun of me कि अच्छी चाय नहीं बना सकते. So I always, now I have become, there was a time when even I used to feel कि मैं शायद सीख लेना, I try. And then, I have this my awakening or realization, whatever, okay? See, this is it. This is me. Maybe I'm not meant to cook or, make a very nice aromatic tea, but I'm meant for other things. So everybody will have their own strengths and weaknesses. So if you can't accept my weaknesses, you can order chai, but can you get my wisdom in some other person? कोई भी होटल से चाय पी लो. I can have a help who can make you a good chai or serve a good dinner. But what other attributes as a person I am having, can they be replaced by some other person? Yes, so why can't we, acknowledge, validate that uniqueness in a person? In either ways, I would say, for a man and a woman. And again, it goes back to acceptance.
Yeah. What does an ideal, I must say, couple looks like, ma'am? An ideal, matlab. Yeah. What's the relationship dynamics there?
I would say now there is nothing known as ideal couple, Furqan. It is, your, willingness to not giving up on the other person. Whatever you're going through, not giving up on that person, still choosing that person again and again, knowing their flaws, knowing their weaknesses, still, able to love back to that person, falling in love again and again with the same person. And if you don't feel that for, your spouse, either ways, then, these are dead relationships, and that's the reason our society is like, you see people, especially in their midlife, so resentful, so angry, they don't want to tolerate, people separating their rooms. You see so many things happening because they have been in a relationship which was always forced upon them. They never chose.
Makes sense, ma'am. Makes sense. Thank you so much for sharing this, ma'am. We'll move forward now. Have you ever wondered why, no matter how many people you meet, there's always that one friend who feels like they have known your soul forever? According to psychology, a human can only have one true friend in their lifetime. Not the one who's always around, but the one who's always there, even in silence. You don't need to talk every day. You might go months without a message, But when you finally speak, it's never awkward. It's like your heart never stopped talking. They have seen you at your worst, when your world was falling apart, and instead of leaving, they held the broken pieces with you. Maybe you met them in childhood, maybe later, when you were lost and didn't know you need saving. But they showed up quietly and stayed. Distance didn't kill it, time didn't fade it. Because real friendships doesn't demand attention, it survives on understanding. They have seen the parts of you no one else could handle, and still, they never judged and never walked away.
Yes, but finding this kind of friendship is very difficult where, it is so unconditional. As Salman Khan said, in friendship, no sorry, no thank you. So being there, as a person unconditionally, and it does not only define, only in friendship. It could be any person. It could be your friend. It could be your sibling, maybe a cousin, maybe, an acquaintance, somebody who has your spouse or someone who has held that safe space for you, where you were never judged, where, even when you came back with your flaws, they did not reject you. They did not look down upon you, even when, you committed a mistake or, you have taken a bad decision or something. But still, without any name, they were there.
Who is that person for you, ma'am?
Okay. It's very difficult for me to name Furqan.
Got it. So we'll move forward. I came across a book that said, working out will make you feel weak when it's actually making you stronger. Learning new things will make you feel dumb when it's actually making you smarter. Investing in yourself will make you feel broke when it's actually making you rich. Facing your fears will make you feel terrified when it's actually making you braver. Never hold yourself back. Strive to be better tomorrow than you were today. Thank yourself later.
Absolutely. Because as I just explained you, the process. See, the process always seems to be tough, difficult, challenging, but the outcome is really beautiful. So we have to trust the process in anything. Like you want to work out, trust the process. You want to learn, you can learn from, now though you have ample of, information is just a tip away. You have YouTube, you have Google, you have so many things. So first you have to believe in yourself. Self-confidence, self-love, self-compassion also plays a very important role because you are not questioning yourself. Because as we have discussed earlier, many a time everything has been questioned. Abhi no gym jaake kya kar lete ki Hrithik Roshan ban jate or maybe nahi pad ke Einstein ban jate. So this your inner critic always hounds you. Okay, whenever you're trying to achieve something, level up, this, and you don't even know when it happened. And another example what I give you is, this is also a very common example which I always give. Just you can also try to resonate or recollect. There कोई एक a social gathering, एक दावत चल रही, एक पार्टी चल रही, a group of बच्चे हैं, children, they are playing. Suddenly नहीं, एक कोई तो भी आप बोले ऐसा, ये पुराने बुड्ढों का मूड होता कि अरे बच्चों को बुला के पूछेंगे. They call the children. अरे बच्चों इधर आओ, और क्या चल रहा, क्या कर रहे आजकल, हाँ, कौन क्या पढ़ रहे, कौन सी क्लास में है, कितने मार्क्स आ रहे. जब बच्चा 80-90 बोल सक रहा, उन्हें निकल जाता. जो एक टिमिड बच्चा रहता है, नीचे ऊपर देख रहा है, उसके समझ में नहीं आ रहा बोलना कि मेरे को तो मैं तो मैथ्स में फेल हो गया, या मेरे को अच्छे मार्क्स नहीं आए, या सबको 80s आए तो मेरे को बिल्कुल 30-40 आए. अब वो बच्चा क्या करेंगे, उन्हें पकड़े जाता. उसको बोलते हाँ तुम देख रहे हो मैं आजकल तुम नहीं पढ़ रही, बिल्कुल शरारत में है, खेल में है, और अपना टाइम वेस्ट कर रहे हैं. That's the point. That one dawat, that one social gathering will tarnish the self-image, the self-confidence and self-esteem. The child will go back with lot of emotional pain and which cannot be seen with naked eyes.
100%. सोशल गैदरिंग में ऐसी कोई पुराने बुड्ढे किसी को पकड़े थे, उन्होंने नई जॉब वो साहिब की अमेज़ॉन में लगी थी, तो हमारे दोस्त साहिब ही थे उन्होंने, तो उनको पकड़ के पूछे अच्छा क्या कर रहे हैं आजकल जो है, तो मैं अभी जॉब लगी, मैं अमेज़ॉन में एज अ कस्टमर सर्विस एसोसिएट में काम कर रहा हूँ. तो अमेज़ॉन कहाँ पे है बोल के पूछे, अब उन्होंने ब्लैंक हो गया, अरे नहीं है तो क्या फ़ायदा हुआ फिर बोल के बोल रहे हो वो बड़े, और उन्होंने सीरियस बोल रहे हो वो भी, तो उन्होंने ज़रा शर्मा गए एकदम, मतलब अरे नहीं यार वो तो गलत हो गया है तो बोल के.
That's what this the youngsters, they lose their self-confidence just because of your one silly question and you don't even need to ask that. मतलब आपकी ज़िंदगी में कुछ नहीं है, आप मतलब you are not happy. These are those damaging adults. Because they did not get that validation, acknowledgement, they were labeled, they were bullied, they were shamed. So they are passing this on.
The baggage.
Yes.
On and on. This is interesting. Ma'am, you have to tell me why do humans behave this way? Isn't it funny how people call your anger side your true colors? You can be there for someone for years, support them through everything, show up when no one else does. But the second you get mad, suddenly that's the real you. Everything good you did gets erased by one bad moment. They forget all the time you helped, all the patience you showed, all the love you gave, but they remember exactly how you acted when you finally hit your limit. It's like they were waiting for you to mess up, waiting for proof that you are not as good as you seemed. And when you finally break, they say, I knew it. This is who you really are. Your true self is who you are consistently, not who you become in your worst moments. People remember anger more than kindness. That's just how it works. But don't let that stop you from being kind.
Before I answer this question, I will ask you one thing, Furqan. Tell me, what is the difference between human beings, aliens, or paranormal beings, or animals? What is the difference?
We are the creatures. Uh, Even though I do not know the intricacies of other beings, but as a human being, I feel we have the consciousness. We ask questions. We question a lot of things, many things. And animals and aliens doesn't. I do not know about aliens, but animals doesn't question things. Yeah.
Exactly. See, their brain does not ask questions and they don't have emotions.
Emotions. Okay.
So basically, when you talk about anger, you talk about outburst, this happens because, we were never allowed to feel our emotions. As a human, it is natural for us to sometimes feel angry, sometimes feel bad, sometimes feel low, sometimes feel excited, sometimes feel happy. But only the good emotions are accepted in our society, and any kind of negative emotion is, you're not supposed to feel. See, as a boy, you might have grown up hearing this, boys don't cry. या क्या लड़की के जैसा रो रहा. Be strong, be a man, don't cry. But tell me one thing, when a child is born, irrespective of the relation, and there is no cry, there is no sign of life. So basically, crying is not gender based. This is our society which has created it. So it is like, there is no gender to crying. There is no gender to emotions. There is no gender to your tears. It's your body's natural mechanism to, express itself with whatever it is going through emotionally. So if you are not allowed to show that, emotion, like if you're angry, you're a bad person. No, everybody can be angry. But we say our people not to be angry. We never say them, ke if you're angry, how to deal with your anger. We need to teach people how to channelize their emotion and process it rather than don't feel it. I cannot tell you don't feel angry, don't feel sad, don't feel bad. We have to tell our people that when you are going through these things, how to navigate. Even at the same time, I say happiness, excitement, this is also emotion. Sometimes you overcome it in your happiness. And then you realize, oh no, this is not the case. You got a promotion and you told your friends, I'm giving you a party in 5-star. And when actually in papers it comes, you cannot afford. So I always tell people, don't make decisions when you're extremely happy or extremely sad. It has to be stabilized when you're taking any decision or any commitment. So it is not, you're judged because of society has conditioned people that whenever they express any kind of especially negative emotions, they are bad people.
Doesn't matter how good they were in the past.
Exactly. So only good is accepted. Now it is like selective. Like till you are good to me, things are fine. If again, it goes back to the thing, love is always earned in our society. It is never given unconditionally. The acceptance is not there.
100%. 100%. The faker you are, the more people will surround you. When you pretend to be perfect, agreeable, always happy, suddenly you are popular. When you perform, instead of being real, everyone wants to be your friend. When you hide who you actually are, your social circle explodes. Why? Because fake attracts fake. People who are also performing feel safe around your performance because they don't have to be real either. Everyone can keep their masks on and call it friendship, but the moment you drop the act, they disappear. Show your real problems, your real opinion, real emotions. Watch how fast they leave. Not because you have changed, but because authenticity makes performers uncomfortable. They were never there for you. They were there for the show. for the version of you that made them feel better about their own fakeness. That's how you learn the difference between an audience and actual friends. Your fake self collects crowds, your real self reveals who actually matters.
Exactly, Baba. You're absolutely right. You have heard this, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. So until unless you package yourself, people will not buy it. It is not saleable. So, and we want, as humans, we want that acknowledgement. We want that validation. So if you really want to work on the root cause of, these things, so again, it dates back to the childhood days where the child is feeling safe, where they don't have to perform, where they don't have to earn love. It is given to them. Everything has to be given age appropriately. You cannot overgive or you cannot undergive. So if we really want good societies, healthier societies, kinder societies, we have to be very mindful and careful about our younger generation because they are the futures. And if we don't focus and if we think, this is a very common conception कि बच्चे बड़े हो जाते. Again, I can give you an example between, when you say कि मतलब ऐसे ही बड़े हो जाते ना, उसमें आप देखो एक बाग है, एक बगीचा है, गार्डन है. And at the same time, you have this, मतलब एक कोई जंगल है, ठीक है? Both the places, it's greenery. It's flowers, it's, grasses, everything. But a garden is more beautiful, more calming because it is well maintained. Somebody's taking care of the flowers. They get the water, the sunlight, everything appropriately. As you go deep inside the jungle, a kind of fear, a kind of silence, a kind of threat, you start feeling. So that is the difference. दोनों जगह nature है, दोनों जगह grass है, दोनों जगह flowers है.
One is organized and another one is not.
Yes. So one is taken care of, another is growing on its own. That's the difference.
That's a beautiful example, ma'am. That's a beautiful analogy there. Ma'am, what is that one message which is close to your heart और आप दुनिया को बताना चाह रहे हैं?
Okay. I would always say, first love yourself. Unless you are aligned with yourself, you don't accept yourself, it is very difficult for you to treat others well. If you are careless about yourself, if you are reckless about yourself, if you don't value yourself, you cannot value people around you. You cannot give back. See, first you need to earn, then only you can give. Without earning, can you give?
No, that's not possible.
So first, give yourself that love, that compassion, that safe space, experience it. Then you see the magic happening, around your relations, how people feel safe. See, I felt safe. That the reason I was able to give as I just gave you the example of my father. When I was not able to study, he gave me that safe space. So I knew that, if that safe space is given, a child can flourish. That's the reason I was able to give it, pass it on to my son. If not, if suppose if you don't have any materialistic things left, when you pass away, you have to, what is your inheritance? That automatically by default goes to your children, right? In the same way, if you're not giving your children that safe space, and if you are not feeling loved, you're not feeling heard, you're not feeling right about yourself, you're always confused. You don't know what to do. You never know what are the healthier choices, what are the unhealthier choices. Anybody can show you a chocolate and, kidnap you then.
Carried.
Yes.
Ma'am, if there is one message जो आप पेरेंट्स को देना चाह रहे हैं, what would it be, ma'am?
तो पेरेंट्स को मेरा सबसे पहले मैसेज यही रहेगा कि go for mindful parenting. I get lot of comments whenever I say कि जो है सो कि ना be mindful about your parenting choices, when to become a parent, अल्लाह ताला है, सुन्नत है. तो answer my one question कि अगर बच्चे रोकना गुनाह है, बच्चों को पैदा करके उनकी सही परवरिश नहीं करना सवाब है. आप if you are not, children are an amana from, Allah Ta'ala to you. And if you're not able to take care, आप अगर अमानत में ख़यानत कर रहे हैं, तो आपको कैसा दिखता है कि आपको जन्नत मिल जाएंगी?
आप एक बच्चे के राइट्स छीन रहे हैं.
Exactly. तो अगर रोकना गुनाह है तो बच्चे को पैदा करके उसको सही अटेंशन नहीं देना, इमोशनली, फिजिकली, फाइनेंशियली उसका टेक केयर नहीं करना भी उतना ही बड़ा गुनाह है. जैसे मैं वही बोली ना, जंगल और बाग का फ़र्क हो जाता, बढ़ जाते भाई, खुद ब खुद हो जाता. But that's not the way a child should be treated.
100%. So, ma'am, what are the practical steps a parent can take in order to give their child what they need?
See, the practical thing, what they can do is, first, it will start as an individual. As I told you, as an individual, you should feel good about yourself, love yourself, compassion. Then from that individual, you turn into a couple. Okay, so the understanding between both the partners, the respect, the alignment, the future both of you are planning for yourself. And again, whatever decisions, whatever choices are as per you, not as per the society or as per the parents or the elders of the family. It is as per you are financially, physically, emotionally ready. Are you ready? Or you want to spend some time with your spouse, still you want to, enjoy, and you're not ready for that responsibility, but still because of the people are telling, because your parents want a grandchild, don't go for it. Plan a child when you want it, when you are ready, for your sleepless nights, for not having your food on time. Even if the baby is crying in the night, you're fine. Sacrifices, or maybe rising above yourself when all your basic needs are met, and you are in your position where you don't feel bad about, because see, this is a package which comes with parenthood. No parent in the I see many people with so much of resentment because nobody teaches them, okay, what is parenthood. Everything is by surprise. After delivery, you realize, many girls, they realize the pain is so much when they go into labor. Before that, nobody tells them, sabko hota, tumhako bhi ho jata. But everybody's, pain-bearing capacity is not same. Some people feel it very intensely. And then they start that resentment towards the child. And then, in so much of pain, you have to, you just because you delivered, whether it's a normal delivery or a cesarean, you cannot rest. You have to take care of your baby in so much of pain. But if you're more focused on your pain than your child, how will you parent that child? So you have to rise above yourself to have a child. So unless you're prepared emotionally, physically, and financially. And when I say physically, it is not always the biological reasons. These are also the physical reasons, the pain, the sleepless nights, or, few other things which you have to, sacrifice physically. It's not always the biological. That though, people get ready at a very early age, but still you cannot give birth to people like that.
Comes with responsibility.
Yes.
Ma'am, what advice do you have for those parents जिनके लड़के लड़कियाँ एक अनऑर्थोडॉक्स अनट्रेडिशनल वे में अपनी ज़िंदगी गुजारना चाह रहे हैं, एक अनऑर्थोडॉक्स एक अनट्रेडिशनल वे में अपना करियर बनाना चाह रहे हैं? What advice do you have for those parents, ma'am?
Say, support your children, give them your best. And see, if you're able to trust yourself, then you'll be able to trust your children. So trusting your children, being there, and not disowning your children when any of their choices goes wrong. They are also humans. It's not necessary that ke bachon se galti nahi ho sakti. Apne se bhi ho sakti. We all are humans. And it's human to err. So it's okay, but be there with them. Trust them completely. And let them choose their path. And they will definitely take you through it.
Ma'am, what does that mean in practical sense, trusting your child?
Trusting your child will come from, trusting yourself. If I am not trusting myself, how will I trust the process or my child? Because trust issues are always there. I was never given that opportunity, that I was never trusted. I was always in a doubt कि मैं क्या कर रही हूँ, सही कर रही हूँ, गलत कर रही हूँ. So how will I be confident about my own self, my parenting techniques? Whenever I work in office, sometimes, I don't even get time to pick up my calls, or sometimes. So people say, oh my God, you have 3 boys and, you are like, how come you are so comfortable? So I always tell them that, I'm confident about myself and about my children and about my parenting. I have given them time when it was very necessary. Most of the parents, they neglect the actual age, and then they start focusing on the children in the teens. When they become a rebel, when their pattern has already formed, when their character shaping is done, then you want to control the behavior. So it cannot happen that way. So invest in your children at the right time, give them that time, that support, that unconditional love, that trust in the foundation years. And then in teenage, I never faced, alhamdulillah, I would say, I never faced problem with my 3 teenage boys. I never faced.
Good news, ma'am. Happy for that. Ma'am, it was a privilege of the highest order to have you with us, ma'am. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your efforts. Thank you so much for everything you have shared, ma'am. It is so much valuable to us and to the listeners. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Furqan, for having me here. And I just appreciate the way you're doing, Baba. I love seeing young generation coming up with, these kind of different things. And I also loved your, table of wisdom, the name which you have given so thoughtfully. And all your old podcast I have watched. You're doing a wonderful job. I would just say all the very best for your future endeavors and keep up the good work.
Truly appreciate your kind words, ma'am. Thank you so much. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.